Hey there, welcome to the Focus Podcast with Taralee. This is the place where we talk about real life, real relationships, and how to grow through it all. If you're looking for simple mindset shifts, better communication, and deeper connections, you're in the right spot. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Focus Podcast. I'm your host, Taralee. I am a marriage crisis coach and founder of Peaceful Heart Journey, where I help couples rebuild trust, communication, and emotional safety when things feel broken. So today's conversation is one I'm super excited about. We're talking about how to navigate conflict without damaging trust and how to start rebuilding intimacy when life or stress has changed the dynamics between you and your partner. So joining me today is Andrea Dindinger. Did I say that correctly, Andrea?
You did. Thank you.
Okay, I'm so excited. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist with more than 20 years experiencing helping couples heal from disconnection, betrayal, and burnout. Andrea blends practical communication tools with a gentle body-based approach that helps people feel safe and connected again, not just in their minds, but in their hearts and their nervous system too. So, Andrea, welcome. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, this is so fun. You are just all the things that you teach about and the things that I've learned about you. I'm really excited to learn some more about you. But for listeners who maybe might not know you yet, can you
Mhm.
share a little bit about what you led you to working with couples and what you do?
My parents got divorced when I was a teenager, and I was an only child. And so that felt like um, a, a humongous loss, like so much grief. And then I went on, got married early and got divorced early as well. And that was even worse than like kind of surviving my parents' divorce. And so through my divorce from my ex-husband, I didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And I went to a 16-day silent meditation retreat in Northern California. And I was just sitting there and I had this mantra like, I know I will know when I know it. I just know it. Like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I know I will know when I know it. And it's just this like this. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there and it was literally like a bolt of lightning just went in my head is like, oh, you're going to be a therapist. Like it just was like, and then everything kind of unfolded from there.
That's so interesting. I love that
Yeah.
because my dad was a marriage and family therapist, and I've always been
Mm,
interested in human behavior. But when I was
same.
young and 18, 19, 20, I did not want to do college. I didn't want to do any of that. And so I went back later in life, and I'm finishing my degree to be a marriage and family therapist. But right now I coach couples and stuff until I can
Mhm.
actually get all those little, things behind my
Yes.
name and all that. But
Right.
so I'm doing what I can to help because it's so interesting to me, but it took me a long time. So you had the bolt of lightning. This is what you're supposed to do. And
Mhm.
then what?
And so I talked to a couple of people. I applied to grad school, and it just like you have those moments where it's almost like the dominoes just like fall
Mhm.
and like that's exactly how it was. Like I was past the deadline for submitting my application. I submitted it anyway. I got
Mhm.
accepted. I started in the fall. I moved from New York to San Francisco. Um, like I got the like it just everything kind of has unfolded. And it's been, I've been doing this for so long, but I look back and I remember sitting at the kitchen table with my grandparents as like an 8-year old or 9-year old being like, so why don't you guys sleep in the same bedroom? Like, why don't you share a room? And so I think like, and I probably, this is probably true for you. Like, it's kind of something that lives inside of you. I think I was reading relationship books. Definitely was reading them after my parents' divorce. Like, how did this happen? Why did this happen? How can I fix this? And I think I think that's underneath all of this of like, I don't want anyone to have to go through that kind of pain. I especially don't want children to have to um, go through that pain of their parents'
Yeah.
relationship just being unhealthy.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me it was just always feeling like I needed to be a peacemaker and always like thinking that conflict was bad and not really learning how to communicate and things thinking that I just needed to like make everyone around me happy and I needed
Mm.
and realizing that's not my job. That's not even possible. And so learning about these things in human behavior and why we do the things we do has just been something that's been so interesting to me. And then starting out as a coach, I kind of dabbled in a lot of different areas and have realized that marriage and relationships and that relationship is so important and where I really focus and where the biggest need has been with the clients that I've seen and that
Oh, for
that's where
sure.
I want to help. And so I've kind of am really excited for this conversation because when you think of couples who are struggling, what gives you hope that healing is possible?
Um, I mean, I think I feel hopeful every single day, seeing
Mhm.
how people start being able to have these uncomfortable conversations. I was just in a session right before here, and the husband was talking about how he still feels like he is a terrible communicator and can't like um articulate his feelings, or when he does it at the exact wrong time. And his wife kind of says part of it, it's true. Like part of that is true, but the amount that he's grown, just him personally, in the last like 6 months is kind of incredible. And I think people forget like um they don't see themselves and aren't able to see how much they have changed, how they are having harder conversations, how they are not sweeping things under the rug, and then also giving themselves a little grace around, it's scary. It's
Yeah.
scary to have hard conversations.
Yeah, just the being vulnerable sometimes with somebody that
Oh,
you're the closest to and that can hurt you the most. I think sometimes that's the scary part is
oh
being
yeah.
vulnerable to that person that can really hurt you the most because they are the closest to you, really,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And
should
I
be, really.
find and I find that we treat the people who are closest to us the worst, right? Like,
Hmm.
we really take each other for granted. Oh, they're always going to be there. They don't take it personally when I like lose my shit, or right. And maybe
Yeah.
they're kind, and I imagine you're on that way of like you give a lot of forgiveness for
Hmm.
missteps. Um, but eventually like it starts wearing people down and it feels really hurtful. And
Yeah.
so I think it's like where people can learn to take ownership
Hmm.
of their actions, of their tone, of how they said something, of how they didn't say something, begins to shift things massively.
Yeah, I agree because I think when I was working a lot with parents with teenagers, I think they always wanted, fix my kid,
I
fix
know.
them, fix them. And it's like, no, you don't. What you don't understand is that like we can only control ourselves. And same with in a relationship with another person, with a partner, that sometimes we go thinking, well, fix him, fix her, like
I
this is, and that's where I see the biggest success is when when my clients realize, oh, wait, it's not just their problem, and it may be the dynamic between the two, but
Mhm.
it doesn't take both of you. It really only takes one of you. And eventually it
Ex-
does. But when one of you starts, eventually that the other one will come, even if that other person did not have any intention. No, I don't want to go to counseling. I don't want to go to therapy. I don't want to go to coaching, anything like that. You start, just take that step and you go and start, and they are going to see the changes and they're going to see, wait, she's not just going to try to fix me. She's growing. She's or he. I work a lot with
Mhm.
females, so
Mhm.
that's why I say she. But um, when they see you changing, then that is huge, I think, in the relationship and completely
Huge.
shift.
Huge. And what's interesting is I often will tell my couples like somebody has to be the
Mhm.
leader. So
Yeah.
just choose like this week I'll be the leader. Next week you can be the leader. Like, and what it means to be the leader is you give grace to the other
Mhm.
person's um, outburst, say, but then you give grace by not taking it personally, right? You don't
Mhm.
think like, you hate me. That's why you spoke to me that way. You're like, oh, no, no, no. You're dysregulated. You're upset. You're tired. You're stressed. Like, that's not about me. That's giving them grace by not taking it personally. Then it's this other place of like, hey, I'm curious. What's going on for you? Leaning in with that curiosity is also part of being the leader in the family. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean you just do everything and trudge through all of the stuff and humph and have all the resentment. It's around like, hey, I this week I'm going to be the one who says like, hey, you're having a tough time. What's going on? Let's talk about it. And then next week we can switch. And if you
Yeah.
do it in that conscious way, both people are getting that sense of what it feels like to not take somebody's bad mood personally and then to be
Mhm.
curious about it and how that, I mean, changes
Yeah.
everything.
Yes, yeah. I talk about like negative interpretation. And so if you think that, oh, this person is, every little thing that they do is wrong or bad or, something that they've done to really hurt you or whatever, instead of thinking, well, that's awful, that horrible person, it's like, okay, instead of thinking of them negatively, think of why would somebody who is smart, kind, normally very patient with me, why would they do something like this? And then
Mhm.
kind of like you said, get curious. Okay, well, maybe they're stressed or maybe they forgot or maybe, give them the benefit of the doubt, give them grace, give them see it more in a positive light. And then you can get curious about it and understand maybe why this happened. Because I think sometimes we give our worst to the people we love the
Oh,
most because, oh, yeah, like you said, they'll forgive me. They'll give, but if we did that all the time, then yeah, that gets hard. But I think we can give each other that grace for sure. I
and
love that.
I do think we, we take each other's bad moods and bad
Hmm.
behavior, right? We just take it on and take it on. And that's what I think you start seeing is somebody is saying like, hey, hey, trying to get somebody's attention about something. And the other person, isn't listening, isn't paying attention. And then
Hmm.
eventually they're like, I'm done. I want a
Yeah.
divorce. And the other person's kind of blindsided by it. Maybe they can feel, things being shoved under the rug and the rug being lumpy, but
Hmm.
the, just like, oh, somebody is done. And that person who's done has probably been trying and trying and trying and trying to get somebody
Yeah.
else's attention.
Yeah.
And it's so painful.
Yeah, that is. Why do you think that maybe many couples get stuck in the same fights over and over again?
I think those same fights, I call it the loop.
Hmm.
And because we all do it. We just all have that one fight that we do again and again and again with our partners. I think there's a couple reasons behind it. The first one being it's truly a bid for connection. So if I'm like,
Hmm.
Tara, please put your glass in the dishwasher instead of on the side of the sink. And you're like, why are you so anal? Why do you always have to like get on me about like it's just I'm going to use that glass later on. Right? So when I say please, I'm like actually saying like, hey, see me. I love
Hmm.
you. I need you to like care about what I care about.
Yeah.
And I think it's truly that initial bid for connection is what happens with
Hmm.
those loops. The second piece of it is I think we're trying to resolve some of those past hurts from our childhood.
Hmm.
And if, you weren't seen or you were the peacemaker or you were
Hmm.
the go between, like you're always in this position. If you had to stuff it all down to make
Yeah.
everybody right, like you're in that same position. And so you marry somebody who is perfectly perfect for you in all the most perfectly imperfect ways, right? And so you find that person who syncs up with you just in the right ways so you can try and have a different experience that you had as a child with your early
Hmm.
caregivers. And so
Yeah.
we're like the Tibetan Buddhists have this idea that we awaken, become enlightened through relationship. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. Because it is so
Yeah.
hard. Relationship is so complex. And it takes a
Yeah.
whole bunch of mindfulness, a whole bunch of presence,
Hmm.
and that kind of leadership and wisdom in order to navigate through it.
Yeah, I agree. I learned a while back, and something that I teach a lot in what I do now. Dr. Matt Townsend, he's a therapist and he has like lots of books and stuff, but he talks about the starved needs. So everybody has the seven basic needs. And I don't know if you've heard about his thing before or not, but where the starved needs are the fire, where everything else, the dishes, the money, and all that is the smoke. But if you get down to the fire, that's where the real starved issues are, which are safety, trust, appreciation, respect, validation. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting. What is E? STARVE. Oh gosh, I can't. Why am I
Empathy?
forgetting this? I might. What is it?
Is it empathy?
It's oh gosh. You know what's so funny is I teach these like every single day, but I
No, I know.
let's see. We may need to. We
welcome,
may need.
welcome to
Okay.
perimenopause.
Safety, trust, appreciation, respect, validation, encouragement,
Mm,
and dedication. So those are the starved needs. We all have those seven basic needs, and the smoke, the things that we're fighting about, the things that we're constantly fighting about, those are just that's the smoke. That's not the real issue. And so if you get down to the real issue, it's one of those things which stem from, like you said, something from childhood or something from a past relationship, things that we kind of different attachment styles, different things that we brought with us. And if we
sure,
can communicate some of those things to our partner and stuff, that we can kind of work through those things, and recognizing it as kind of one of the biggest keys, I think, in ourselves and in
huge,
them, and help them through
huge.
theirs, because they're not it's not I know sometimes we talk about baggage and stuff like that. It's not really baggage because that makes it seem like heavy to
I mean,
me.
there isn't anybody out there who
No.
doesn't have it. I was in
Yeah.
session last week, and um, one of the wife of this couple I work with, she's like, "Is it just horrific that something that happened to you when you were 13 years old, when we're 50 years old, it's still impacting you?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And they have small children. I'm like, and that's kind of why you guys are here today, to
Mhm.
do it differently, to do it better, with more consciousness, with more awareness, to feed your person, encourage your person, right? Do the
Yes.
things so they're not starving underneath there. And
Yes.
so that the two of you are creating children who go out into the world and have different, have different dynamics that they have to work out
Mhm.
in their marriage, which are maybe a lot less extreme, a lot calmer, a lot easier.
Yeah, I agree. I always say when you know better, you do better. That's
Yeah, for
how
sure.
I feel all the time. I tell my kids that, like especially my poor oldest that got the mom that was just doing her best and not knowing, and I tell her all the time, I apologize constantly. Yeah, I didn't handle that well, and I'm sorry. Please forgive
But
me.
even that, like, I didn't handle that well.
Hmm.
Like, saying that to your kid, to your spouse, that's
Yeah.
like revolutionary,
Yeah.
right? That's saying
I
like, I wasn't my best. I like dropped the ball. I didn't do that well.
yeah.
I flipped out when I needed to flip in.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that changes. I bet your daughter appreciated that so much.
Yeah.
And I know I appreciate it when a friend, my husband, even my kids will say, like, "Oh, mom, hey, I'm sorry. I was a little bit grouchy. I think I was really stressed about this exam that I have on Friday." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's like you don't
Yeah.
carry it in the same way."
Yeah, it makes sense. It gives, like you said, give them grace, because
Mhm.
there's all, and I think that I try to do that even when somebody is like cut you off in traffic or whatever, I always like make up a little story in my head about them. Oh, they are on their way, they are rushing to the hospital because, or they have to really go to the bathroom or
That's what I
something,
say. I'm like, they've got to go to the bathroom. Let them
Yeah.
go.
Yep, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's not just assume the worst in everybody, because that just
Yeah.
is. That's not fun. That's not a fun place to be. And so, um, all right. So if here's another question. If someone's listening right now and they've said something that they regret to their partner, to their um, child, whoever, what's a simple way that you think that they can repair in that moment?
I think what's the biggest piece first is just recognize like, oh, I did not do that well.
Hmm.
And I really regret. And it gets tricky when people are kind of in emotionally um abusive relationships because you get the
Yeah.
roses and heart and like that dynamic and it just keeps going. So there does need to be a little bit of a shift there to
Yeah.
say like, so here's what I coach people in saying like, okay, I didn't do that well. I totally lost my shit on you and it wasn't fair. I imagine that really hurt you. So it's like you own what you did, then
Hmm.
you empathize with how that must have felt for them. And then you say, I understand what was happening for me. I hadn't eaten. I didn't get enough sleep over the last week. Um, and that makes me more irritable. And it's not fair to you. It's not fair to me. My commitment to you and to myself is that I'm actually going to pay more attention to my sleep. And when I can feel myself starting to get activated like that, I'm going to go have a glass of water. I'm going to go move myself around the block and then I'm going to come back. I've got this course. You probably saw it if you're looking at my socials, but it's called the
Yeah.
Loop Breaker. And I have in there like 5 different ways that you can have these conversations, circle back to these conversations, maybe pause the conversation mid and
Yeah.
come back to it when
Time out.
when you're
Yeah.
calmer.
Yeah.
And but I think it's so important to say, like, I did this. It must have made you feel like crap. It made me feel like crap that I did this. And I just can't even imagine how it was for you. And I'd love to know. Apologizing and then saying
Mm.
how you're going to do it differently the next time. And then really committing to doing it differently. If you know, like, look, I have an hour more work that I need to do, but I made a commitment. I'm going to bed by 10:30. I'm going to bed by 10:30.
Yeah. That's good. And follow through with that. That's
Mhm.
definitely, yeah, we're going to link all your stuff in the show notes and stuff for people so they can find these things because I do think it's something that would be really beneficial
Yeah.
for everyone listening. So let's see, I had a little section here about like rebuilding intimacy when it starts to feel distant because I work with that a lot and I think that's kind of the hardest part
Yeah.
um, when you've kind of been hurt or you hold them away and kind of
Yeah.
trying to rebuild that. What does it look like to start rebuilding closeness when something, whether it's betrayal or anything like that? What does that look like for
Well, I think
somebody?
there's two kind of different ways to look at it. Betrayal, I think, is a different path, but I
Hmm.
find that a lot of couples, especially who are in those parent raising years and,
Yeah.
going at the speed of light, like a month can go by, 2 months, 3 months. Um, I remember having a couple walk into my office and I'm like, oh, they haven't had sex in a very long time, just intuitively. And so I asked them, and they're like, oh, we probably haven't had sex for 15 years.
Wow.
And, and that's, that they're still married to this day. Or they were, last time I had seen them, and I think they were saying married. And it's, I think what happens is sometimes that distance grows so far, right? You just get so far away and then you're like changing in the bathroom because you feel awkward or right? And then people have been pushed away or rejected, not,
Hmm.
forcefully, but like, turned away from, then they
Yeah.
lose their confidence to reach out and connect. And then there's so much going on that we're not sharing. It's again
Hmm.
like all the things underneath the rug that we trip over. And so I have this really, it's kind of funny, but it's also incredibly effective. I call it sexy logistics. And what it is saying, like, hey, we haven't had sex in a long time. I know it, you know it. I'm not going to pretend like we have. I'm not going to pretend. I'm gonna say like I'm also not interested in having sex either, but I recognize it's part of it. It's part of our marriage. It's part of like what makes us both feel alive and healthy. So I'm willing to be open to that possibility happening, but I'm not going to force anything. I'm not going to do something out of obligation and so what sexy logistics is two people getting in bed naked and just talking, and one person sharing all of the things that are going on in their head, all of the things they're juggling with planning for summer camp to getting the dog to the groomer to this big meeting they have to being on a podcast, right? Everybody's dealing with
Yeah.
something. It's somebody, then the other spouse is just there listening, like really hearing, not even with their head, but with their heart, what they're, all of the things that the person is carrying around that they probably don't even know. That
Mhm.
sharing of that piece with your clothes off is so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And to have somebody just really listen, they don't need to do anything to fix it. Maybe they'll be inspired and be like, hey, I can take the dog to the groomer on my way to work,
Mm.
no problem. Right? Like they might be inspired to take something off of their person's head, off of their to-do list. But it's that act of like sharing and getting out of your head and back into your body that changes everything. We're so stuck on our phones, we're so
Mhm.
disconnected. It makes it really hard for people to slow down enough to really come into kind of that more intimate, um, you know, chemistry kind of connection. And so
Yeah.
then once one person shares, it feels so good to like dump out all of those thoughts. The other person's like enamored of like all of the things they're juggling. And then the other person can share the things that
Mhm.
they're thinking about, the things they're worried about. And it can get tricky because those are the things that that couple fights about. So if somebody's sharing, like they're worried about finances and what's happening at work and the economy and this, that, and the other, the other person can get prickly around it, around like, oh, am I spending too much? Or are you trying to tell me, right? Like there's all that like in between
Yeah.
conversation. But if you just take your head offline and listen with your heart around what's underneath it, there's so
Mhm.
much tenderness, there's so much softness, and there's that place of really feeding the relationship and that connection. And so
Yeah.
just that is creating intimacy.
Mhm.
Then I say to people, like, maybe you be willing to kiss. Like, just like we don't have to have sex, but let's be willing to kiss. And then that it's like it slowly opens people up to being back in their bodies, back into that more intimate kind of way with their partner. Um,
Yeah.
and it's a vulnerable thing, but it's
Mhm.
kind of fun if you do it in this kind of way, like, oh, I get to be sexy about all my logistics, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of like a little incongruent in that way.
Yeah. Well, it kind of, I think you and I both talk a lot about emotional safety, right?
Yeah,
And so I think it kind of helps open that door a little bit and create
for
that
sure.
for them. I think that's really
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think it's primarily women, right? Need that sense
yes.
of like, oh, you care about all the things I'm holding on to right now. Even
Hmm.
if you think they're stupid, you still care about them because you care about me. And then
Yeah.
if you care about me in that way, like, oh, I care about you.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not super interested in having sex, the fact that you're interested in me, then right. And I actually think women are probably more interested in sex, but they've got all of that emotional
Hmm.
labor that they're doing, that invisible labor that really zaps
Yeah.
their libidinal energy.
Yeah. I think sometimes too, sometimes we just need to say it. We don't need them to fix it. We don't need
Yeah.
somebody to fix it. We just need to say it out loud and hear, like, listen, because sometimes when we're saying it out loud, we're already fixing it in our heads. We don't need you to fix it. So we can just say it out loud. And like you said, if there is something that they can pick up, but sometimes we don't want them to pick it up. We just want to say it and work through it and get it off, and then we're okay. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes that is, I do find that sometimes with my husband. So I've been married, we've been married almost 27 years now. So he's, he knows to listen and knows when he just needs to listen, and he also recognizes now that I'm telling you this because I want you to fix it, you know? So
Right, right. My
he
husband
knows
says
me
to me,
well
he's
enough
like,
now. Yeah.
he says to me, is this something you want me to listen to or
Hmm.
fix?
Yep.
And I'm like, I just need you to listen.
Just listen. Yep.
Just listen.
And I think that's one thing that I've always kind of with him, like, I don't make him read my mind. I've never made
No.
him read my mind or think that, oh, he should know this, you know, or if he knew me well enough, then he should know this. I can't read his mind, so he can't read mine. I think I can, but I can't, you know. So I think if we remember that in our partner that they, you know, they do love us. We don't need to put that expectation. Well, if they really loved me, they
They
know that
would
I
bring me
need this.
flowers. Right.
Yeah. No, no, just tell them like, "Hey, I need this from you right now." And
Mhm.
that makes it so much easier. Don't put that expectation on them because they're going to fail just like we would fail if they expected us to read their mind or know what they're thinking or whatever all the time too. So,
And that kind of reminds me like what we were talking about with putting the glass on the counter,
hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
then people will say to me like, "Well, Andrea, I've told them. Like I've
Hmm.
told them I want them to bring me flowers once a week on their own accord. I've told them I want them to put the glass in the dishwasher and they just don't listen." And that's where it's important for the other person to slow down and actually hear like, what is my person asking for?
Yeah.
Like, I might think it's stupid to put my glass in the dishwasher, especially if I'm going to reuse it, but they've said that to me a number of times. They've asked me to bring flowers home a
Hmm.
number of times. And while I still think it's stupid to buy flowers because they're just going to die and it's a waste of money and I'd rather buy a plant, like I wonder if I just listened to it and I did it. And even if it's not like from my heart that I want to do this, I'm doing it because I love this person. And so then what happens is when you start doing those things, first you're going to be doing them for the other person, but then you're going to get excited. You're going to be like, I put my cup in the dishwasher. I
Yeah.
wonder if they're going to notice, right? Oh, I bought these flowers. Oh, this week I'm buying these flowers. I become friends with the florist and, the
Mhm.
woman at Safeway who's like, oh, get these flowers. Or, it's that it becomes something fun on the other side. Initially, you're just doing it because somebody has asked you. But then when
Mhm.
you really take it on, it has a life of its own and it becomes something that gives you joy. And
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I love that. That's so true. I think sometimes just serving the person that we love the most is what bring can bring us joy. Definitely. So I want you to talk a little bit about you have is it called body-based healing?
Yes, so I'm trained as a somatics therapist.
Hmm.
And we're walking around with these bodies all day long, but we're like cut off from them, right? We don't
Hmm.
feel anything. We're not aware of what our triggers are, and our body's going to give us those immediate answers if we're listening to it.
Hmm.
And so, so many people are deadening themselves out with their phone, with substances, right? They're just numbing themselves out so they don't have to feel those sensations. So part of it is a little bit around being willing to come back into your body. And then the other
Hmm.
part of it is just practice. So it can be and recognizing like there's a lot of wisdom around like not being living in your body. There's, trauma, there's pain, there's
Hmm.
um, loneliness, there's discomfort in there. So there's a lot of wisdom around the cutting it off. But when we are actually embodied in our bodies and feeling the sensations and being with them and recognizing what's coming up for us, we're able
Yeah.
to make such different choices. Just coming back into your body allows you to have options in the
Hmm.
ways that you respond. So if you think about back to your example of the guy driving and cutting you off in traffic, right? That person is pinpoint focus on getting where they need to go.
Hmm.
Um, they're really disconnected to what's happening kind of in a physical way. Or when somebody's like screaming at somebody,
Yeah.
right? They're they're not connected. They don't recognize like they have a different way of responding. And so
Hmm.
I often ask my clients at the beginning of session, just like, tell me some sensations you notice in your body. And even for you, Tara, like, what do you notice
Yeah.
sensation wise? You were just coughing.
A little
Um,
tickle. Yeah.
mhm. What other
Yeah.
sensations are there?
Um, right now I feel like it's actually warm in here. It
Mhm.
feels good. And my house is usually cold. My kids always want it a lot colder than I want it. So it feels warm and I feel good. I'm loving this whole conversation that we're having. So I feel like excitement, like
Mhm.
I am listening, but I want to like ask you more and I want more and
Yeah.
more. So I have that excitement because I love talking about this kind of stuff. So I get that excitement too, feeling.
And so did you notice like when you paused just for a second, you just like checked in, right?
Hmm.
And that little check-in is available for all of us all the time,
Yeah.
all the time. But so rarely do we actually check in and just to notice what's the temperature of our bodies, right? Like right
Yeah.
now, my hands are cold. Um, and so it's that place of just being there. So oftentimes I find that anger gets stuck on like almost like it's like this automatic response that people are just using again, again, again. I think it's to generate some of that dopamine in their
Hmm.
systems when they're feeling down. And so what I ask people to do is be as they're getting angry, notice what sensations you're having in your body. Maybe you start feeling, that volcano
Hmm.
coming up in your stomach. For me, I can feel anger in my arms. Like it comes in my hands first, and it's almost like those shooting like fireworks in my arms. And so once I feel that, I'm like, okay, I have an option to here, right? I can
Hmm.
automatically get angry about something, or I can slow it down and be like, okay, I'm angry. What else is here? What's underneath this? Am I scared? Um, do I feel hurt? Like, what else is here? But if I don't pay attention to that feeling, that sensation in my body, the emotions automatically take over and
Yeah.
just plow through. And so when you pause and are able to feel the sensations, and it does take practice,
Hmm.
then we can choose to respond differently. We can even be angry and say, hey, I'm really angry right now. I don't want to yell because that doesn't feel productive, right? But
Hmm.
you're still angry, but you're doing it from a different choice point versus just yelling at somebody, unloading, and then it's destructive to the relationship.
Yeah, definitely. That this is goes right along with my focus framework. So my podcast is the Focus Podcast. It goes along with what my dad used to say, what you focus on expands. And I've created a framework over that, which each letter of the word focus stands for facts first, own your thoughts, choose your feelings, understand your actions, shape your results. And that when we start feeling like we get to choose those feelings, maybe not necessarily physiological feelings, but we can I always think, okay, what I'm feeling really angry. What thought is leading to that feeling? Because our thoughts are what are creating this inside of me. And it could be, if it's traffic or the guy that cut me off, that's just kind of the fact. That's what just happened.
Mhm.
But what's my thought about that? This guy's a jerk or whatever, and it makes me
Mhm.
angry. And then road rage and whatever, those are leading to that kind of behavior, which isn't going to shape any results that I'm going to want. So if I can connect that thought to, okay, this guy has to go to the bathroom or they're really in a big hurry or they're rushing to the hospital or whatever, that creates a little bit more peaceful feeling that like, okay, let's give them grace or our spouse or something, that which kind of leads to those feelings. But then recognizing those feelings, like getting into your body, stopping what's leading to this and all of what you were just saying is like, okay, being intentional really is what I think we kind of just go throughout our day just doing things. And if we can slow down and get intentional and really understand what we're doing, why we're feeling, we can really just, I think, create lives that are much easier and much more intentional,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And it just feels different, right? That sense of
Hmm.
peace that you don't take the guy who cut you off in traffic personally, but you
Yeah.
recognize, whoa, that scared me. That was really loud. That felt dangerous.
Yeah.
Am I okay? I could lay on my horn. Maybe I need to. Maybe I just need to go, like, I'm just gonna pump the brakes and let them have space and hope they
Hmm.
get to where they need to go.
Yeah.
Um, right, really
Puts you more in
prioritizing,
control.
yeah,
Yeah.
and really prioritizing how you feel internally,
Hmm.
right, versus
Yeah.
what you can't control externally.
Yes. Yeah. That's my whole work, what I want to teach people, because it took me so
Yeah,
long to really understand that. I didn't
yeah,
know
it's
that for so many
revolutionary.
years, that I want to just tell and share with everybody that
Yeah,
will listen, because that you can't always control the circumstance, the outside world, that's just not, but you can control how you show up and how you react to it and how you really go about your life. I think that's so important. So
yeah, and when
awesome.
you actually choose, how do I want to respond when I'm angry?
Hmm. Yeah.
um I can't control how when you get angry, but I can control how I respond when you get angry. I can either get angry with you, or I can be like, whoa, dude, you are stressed out. Maybe
Yeah.
do you need something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, I'm not gonna get stuck in that again, back to the loop, right? Like
Yeah.
that's where your power comes in, is that you can actually choose to do it differently. And
Hmm.
that changes the entire dynamic of a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree so much. I love it. Well, I am so glad that you joined me here today. I want to
Ah, me
give you a little
too.
bit of time here really quickly. Is there something that maybe I missed in asking you about, or something you wanted to talk about that um, maybe we didn't touch on today?
Um, I guess the only thing I would say that I would love to just have your listeners be thinking about is the idea of really listening to each other, whether it's yourself,
Mhm.
first and foremost, your partner, your children, your neighbors, your parents. Like, if you could actually, if like, I think if we could actually slow down enough to actually listen
Mhm.
and really hear what's being said and what's also maybe not being said, I feel like that's kind of back in alignment with, your focus framework, that it changes how we show up in the world when we're really listening.
Yeah,
Um,
I love that. It does. It kind of opens our hearts to what other people are going through and what they are all about. That's really great. I love that. Thank you so much.
yeah, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to say, like, if people wanted some more support, they can check out
Mhm.
my socials,
Okay.
therapy with Andrea.love. And I also have a weekly newsletter that is filled with like really direct, actionable ideas and tips to navigate some of these complexities that people can sign up for. It's free, it's super fun. And then
Perfect.
there's my courses. If people want to take one of those courses, they're super affordable for all people. But help guide you through how you can make those different choices and be the leader in your marriage.
Perfect. I love it. We'll link them all below here
Excellent.
and
That's
in the show notes. So thank you so much. I appreciate you being here and having this conversation with us today.
Thank you so much, Tara. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for hanging out with me today on the Focus Podcast. If something stood out or helped you in some way, feel free to share it or leave a quick review. It means a lot. Keep showing up, keep growing, and I'll catch you in the next episode.